All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast. We have an amazing guest with us today. It's going to be a great show. Let's get it. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we have an amazing guest. Super excited to bring you guys this guy because Basil's been raving about him.
Yes, sir.
So-
Yes, sir. My boy Money Matt on a seven-figure Friday. Woo!
So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself while the chat starts to trickle in, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. My name's Matt Petruso, MOV Matt on Instagram. And yeah, I got into this entrepreneurship game by accident. You know, I got fired from my safe and secure 9-to-5 job, and then didn't know what to do with myself, but got thrown into door-to-door sales and figured out, oh shit, I got to provide some value to the marketplace. And by doing so, I can actually take control over my life. And that became the journey.
So sorry, I don't want to
Good.
interrupt you, but I watch a lot of Shark Tank.
Okay.
And what's this dude's name? The guy that owns the Mavericks.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban.
Okay.
He says that if you can be a door salesman, he says that those guys can be like those type of people are the most successful because they're the ones that are used to rejection. If you can take that type of rejection, because out of 10 houses you go to, maybe like 9 of them will say no to you. If you could take that rejection and go to the next house, like you didn't just get rejected, you could be super successful. So
it's very character building.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the most important piece. You know, the school system's so fucked right now.
Oh, yeah. No,
You know, that's like, you know, we're telling people that, you know, you're entitled to this life, but the real world will tell you different. Like when I started knocking on doors, I found out pretty quick, like there was no entitlement necessary or needed because they were like, well, why should I buy something from you? You don't provide any value to me. So why do I provide any value to you?
correct.
So I had to learn pretty quick that if I wanted to keep doing this, I needed to become valuable and valuable to the people that I served. Right.
Correct.
So that's not what I was taught. It was
Yeah.
completely different.
Agreed.
Right. So
how did you reprogram your mind to think like that?
to be honest with you, it was hard. It was very difficult. And I think it's so difficult to get out of the matrix that, you know, the school system and everybody's teaching us because like I'm telling you, when I first started, there was no reason to believe that I would have succeeded because at that point in my life, like my mom was still folding my laundry, you know what I mean? Making my doctor's appointments.
How old were you?
I was 22.
Okay.
Just
That's a good age.
yeah, but like I was still like I had no value. I had no belief in who I was. I expected things to be the way they were, but I got fired from my safe and secure job the way that life was supposed to be. What I was told that I should do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I get thrown out to the jungle.
Yeah.
And I have no skills.
Sink or swim.
And yeah, exactly. And genuinely, the only reason why I think I survived was I had such a chip on my shoulder because I was just like, I can't fail again.
Yeah.
You know, I can't fail again. And I need to prove to my parents, my mom, my dad, you know, that I could be successful. And also like to my friends, like I wasn't just the loser, you know, that was like the jokey kid, you know, in high school that would just make jokes and, you know, not really take life seriously. I'm like, well, I can't do that anymore because I got bills to pay. I got no money in my bank account. I just got fired from my job. You know, I can't be that guy anymore. So, you know, the path of that was like very hardening in a way, but I think men have to be hardened at some point, you know, and there's just a lot of people right now that just, it's not the way that the society's telling us to be.
Yeah. It sounds like it's safe to say that you didn't have a safety net.
No.
So you couldn't like turn back to your parents if something went wrong because you just said right now you had responsibilities, you had bills to pay, right?
Well, like the safety net was, I just didn't like, what do you want to be, a loser sitting in your like your dad's basement or your mom's basement?
Yeah.
Like that was not a safety net that I was attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I had a safety net in the sense that like my parents probably weren't going to let me go homeless,
Right.
but that was not good enough.
Right.
That's not a good safety net.
Right.
You know what I mean? If that's a good safety net for you, you're not in the right game.
Yeah.
You're not playing the game that
Agreed.
I'm playing.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You are very different in that aspect, because a lot of people do look at it like that. And they say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to try. And if I fail, I fail. But I know I have that safety net. I can go back to my parents' house. You had that safety net. You said, you know what? It doesn't matter that I have that safety net. I owe myself to be better than what I currently am. But I respect that. I respect that a lot. I guess what I was trying to say is that a lot of times people that are successful, they don't have that safety net.
Right, exactly.
Well, I think the safety net is different, right? So like certain people, and it goes with like, I think everything in life, we have different thresholds of pain, right? I explain this to a lot of people that I talk to and young guys that I mentor. The threshold of pain is different because everybody has a threshold of, I don't want to look like this anymore, so I'm going to diet, right?
Yeah.
My threshold is a lot lower than most, right? Like if I'm at like 12% body fat, I'm fucking fat, right? So I need to work my ass off because that pain is too much at this point.
Right.
Some people it's 30-40%.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the threshold of pain for me was always very low.
Gotcha.
So that pain made me move. And I didn't want that that safety net or whatever. Like that was too painful.
Right.
And I don't know that in my 20s, it was a lot of like motivation through pain, which was fine. It was a very good motivator to get me to a point. But later on in life, I'm a little older now, but you can, once you succeed, you do have to kind of change, not succeed, but like you get what you wanted, right? You can change the way that you were. You don't have to be as angry at the world. Because I was like, I'm telling you, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was angry I didn't have what I wanted, right? I was angry I didn't have the financial freedom. I was angry at that nobody thought I was valuable, right? I was angry at those things, right? And you either do something about it or you just stay angry for the rest of your life.
Agreed.
And I didn't want to be angry for the rest of my life. So I had to, at some point, like change my perspective on how the world was. And luckily, after, you gain some success, you can take some time to step back and be like, you know what? Life is good. Life is beautiful. And you end up making more money that way too.
Yeah.
But
and guys, that's very critical to understand, because there's a difference between being angry at the world and just like hating everybody.
Right.
And in turn, you're kind of like self-destructive, right? And then there's the anger that you have. I listen to like a lot of old motivational videos, like Jim Rohn and all those guys. Those are old guys, they've already passed. But they always talk about the same thing. You have to be angry. Like in order to do something, in order to change, you have to be angry, because otherwise you just stay the same. But then not angry in a bad way, but angry just like, you know what, I'm not happy with where I'm at right now.
Like you want to be hungry.
Yeah.
You don't want to be happy in the position you're already at.
Agreed.
So for you, do you have like any tips for people to get out of that weak mindset that they keep pushing?
Yeah. So I tell people, like, so many people that I meet with that they're like, I'm in this job and, it's okay, but I'm trying to make the best of it. I go, no. You don't make the best of it. Like, because when you make the best of it, you get comfortable. You start making friends.
Right.
You get real comfortable. And then what happens if you're comfort? You don't do anything, right? You stop, then you'll just end up doing the same thing. So like in my 20s, I bartended on nights and weekends. I was doing door-to-door sales. I started, not flipping, but I started buying real estate at that time. So I was working, all day, every day. And like, you can get very comfortable, like bartending, because bartending, it was fun, right? Like for a lot of people, it's fast money. It's fun. You could drink afterwards, meet a lot of people, but like I hated it.
The temptation too.
Exactly. So like I used it as a tool because I'm like, oh, this is easy cash that I can invest back into myself so I can get to the next level. I don't want to stay after work and drink and waste my money to do the same thing, to get comfortable with the people. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I like the people I was working with, but I'm not going to be like so happy in the situation that I get comfortable.
Right.
And now some of those people that I worked with 10 years ago are still at the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that wasn't the objective that I wanted. Right. So the objective that you want should be stronger than the comfort that is right in front of you.
Yeah. And there's a famous you know who I'm talking about. The guy who was in the military, we talk about him all the time.
Jocko Willink?
Oh, I actually watched Jocko Willink, but he's talking about
Goggins.
David Goggins.
David Goggins. So David Goggins specifically, like he has a book called You Can't Hurt Me. And he talks about constantly keeping himself uncomfortable because that's how he succeeds, right? He always has he has a goal, and then when he gets there, people are like, oh, well, you reached your goal. He's like, no, I have another goal now. And one thing I noticed about myself personally, whenever I would allow myself to get comfortable, bro, that you want to stay there. You know what I mean? And it's so easy to just backslide. So yeah.
I think the thing with comfort though is I'm big on like duality. So I went to Egypt about 2 years ago, and when I was walking, I was with an Egyptologist, and he was this really smart guy. And we're walking through all these like thousands and thousands of year old hieroglyphics and just markings on these ancient walls, right? And everything kept coming back to like, the sun and the moon and, the night and the day. And like everything was like, I was like, why would they talk about all this stuff? He goes, yeah, like the Egyptians were so strong on like the yin and the yang of life, right? There is whatever there is an opposite to, right? And if you try and confine yourself to only focus on one thing, the other thing will show its light, not in your control. So like if you're only seeking comfort, there's nothing wrong with comfort, right? But it must be earned, and it must be earned through discomfort, right? Because comfort that is earned through discomfort, then you can control the discomfort. So like, I want to be in control of the shitty things that I do. I want to go to the gym. I want to force myself to knock on the doors, make the phone calls, do all the discomfort, the uncomfortable things. I want to be in control of, right? Because then I can control the discomfort in my life and also get to dictate when I want the comfort, right? If you only seek comfort, what happens is discomfort will come. But discomfort will come and not of your control. And then you are now in basically discomfort, and you didn't have any of the skills to handle this discomfort. It's just, it will always come, and it's going to come in one way or the other. So I would rather be in control of the discomfort.
Someone please clip that. I'm over here smiling. I'm 20 years old for people that don't know. And like, to be able to be on this podcast, I had people come in like Matt and just spread this wisdom to me. Like,
you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I was actually going to mention that so far, every guest that has come on here, that you've brought on here, bro, phenomenal. I mean, these guys are very intelligent guys and very successful. What exactly is it that you do for people that don't know?
Okay. So basically, after starting in the door-to-door sales, it took me a long time to basically not suck, and when people are like, oh, I just started this thing and I'm so upset because I'm not good at it yet. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, why would you think you'd be good? You haven't done anything. And that was a long time. It's like, well, at first I sucked, and then I sucked a little bit less. And then maybe a year later, I sucked a little bit less. And then one point I was decent, and then I was good. And then at one point I said, well, I don't want to so I was selling like senior care health insurance and life insurance and Medicare. Right. So it's nothing sexy, but it became something that I was good at eventually. Right. And I was like, well, I don't want to know. I no longer want to work for the people that I'm selling for. I'm, smart enough, and, I'm going to go get it enough that I'm going to do it my own.
Right.
So I left and I started my own insurance agency at 25. And at that point, I was already investing in some real estate at the time. So when everybody else at my age was like, oh, I'm going to go buy my starter home and all this other stuff, I'm like, fuck that. So I went out, I bought a duplex. I learned how to renovate it myself on YouTube. Right. YouTube is great. So I didn't know anything about it.
A lot of people don't know that. YouTube is fucking amazing.
It's the FHA loan? Or how did you do
it? So like, I was doing okay, and I was like, I'm telling you, I was the cheapest bastard you ever made. Right? Like,
most successful people are, though.
At a point, like at the beginning, like my objective was financial freedom and control over my life. That was it. And if it had anything to do that did not align with that objective, I didn't spend money on it. It made no sense.
I was just telling him that this earlier today. Like, hey, everything, because we just started 2 weeks ago. Everything that we make comes right back in.
For sure.
I don't have time to club. I don't have time for nothing else. So I really agree with you on that.
Yeah. So that was the process of like when you said FHA loan. So my first couple of properties, I put it wasn't like, if you were a real estate investor, you'd be like, this dude's an idiot. But all I cared about was cash flow. Right. So I would buy properties, I would pay cash for them, and I would just have good, I would have good cash flow, because that cash flow was freedom to me. Every time I got $1,000 extra a month, that's more time I don't have to work, or that's more time I can, not even that I don't have to work. I don't have to. I can choose when I want to work,
Right.
right? So that's what I looked at. I didn't want to like build this huge real estate empire, you know. I was just like, I'm just gonna get as much cash flow as possible, right? So that's when I started doing that. And then at that time, I started my own insurance agency. Over that, you know, that was 10 years ago. So now, you know, I've trained over a dozen people. I have 3 really strong agents that work for me now. So yeah, so my main business is obviously insurance agency. I also own a number, you know, every year since that time when I was buying real estate, I've bought at least one property every year since then. And I've changed my, you know, the purpose of what my real estate's for, which we can go into a little bit later. But also I do a lot of mentoring and coaching and just more just kind of business coaching and lifestyle design. That's the main thing that I try and talk about. It's like money is great to create the freedom that you want, but you can get down the path of just going to make more and more money. But that's not enough, right? Like life is not just about accumulating more and more money. Money is very, very important, and it is a tool to allow you to do the things you want to do and provide value to other people. But beyond that, like it should be designed around what is specific and, you know, unique to you. How do you want your life to be? Right?
And I agree with you on that, because like when I think of financial freedom, I don't necessarily think of like being like the most wealthiest guy. I think about, I can take my family to a trip whenever I want. I can take time off whenever I want. If I want to go spend time with like a significant other, I can take a trip with her or him, you know, whatever. So it's just like, that's financial freedom to me. It's not necessarily having like 10 million in the bank.
No, it's really based on if you are confident enough in the fact that you want to live a life the specific way that you want to live, you can now cater it because of the money that you have. And like I said, I've been over 15 years now dealing with senior citizens. Like that is my target demographic. And I've met over 10,000 people. I have over 2,000 clients now. And after meeting with that many people, the scariest thing that they are concerned about is not how much money they have. It's running out of the money that they have. So if you have a, you know, just a faucet that's just, you know, trickling like a drop out every now and then, or you have a faucet that's just continuously giving you a good stream, that is way more comforting than just like a big number, right? Because if the cash flow will always create the freedom. Because your bills, your expenses, they're paid monthly.
Agreed.
Right. So if you know exactly how much money you have coming in and it is more than what you pay out every month, life is good. You can do whatever you want. Right. Like I could fly down here just to meet with you guys. Right. Like life is good. But once again, we're going back to, life is good. But I also understand that like there's duality in life. So I'm not just going to sit and be good. I'm going to still force the fact that I want to be in control of the way that my life is good and put the discipline, put the discomfort in my corner. So I'm in control of it.
I like that, man. Shout out to him.
For the people that don't know, where can they find your mentorship program?
So right now it's just, right now it's just basically personal one-on-one. I am in the works with a couple guys putting on some experiences. That's the main thing that I really want to work on in the future, is just basically putting on like a 3-day or 4-day event where it brings together a brotherhood, a bond, and then also understand the beauty of life, where you gain some confidence and understand how to build the business properly so you can live a life that is specific to how you want to live. But in that same sense, like doing this alone is not the way to do it. I did it alone for many years, and the lone wolf can only go so far.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So you need a team, man. You can't do it alone. Sure. Do me a favor, Anwar, can you read some of the chats, bro? Because I see a lot of the chats coming in, and I want to make sure that we get to some of them. But good stuff over here, man. Good stuff.
Happy to answer any chats we got.
Yeah, man. Natty Base has a question. What's Matt's educational background?
Yeah, so I actually was a terrible student, barely graduated high school. I graduated with a 1.8 GPA, and that was actually it was a blessing in disguise, because when all my friends, started applying for colleges, I didn't even think about college. It wasn't even like on my radar. But when they all started applying, I'm like, oh, okay, part of the herd. Let me just see what they're all doing. So I started applying to all the colleges that my friends were applying to, and I got rejected. So I got rejected by all of the colleges that all my friends went to. I only got accepted into a small school near where I'm from. And I got accepted on a probationary basis, and none of my friends went there. And I basically had to get thrown into this school and kind of figure out like, are you able to do anything by yourself?
Mhm.
Can you be a man? You know what I mean? And that was fortunate enough in the sense that I learned how to take care of myself and not like rely on like, just a crutch of my friends to make me feel good. But my schooling specifically, I went for sports administration, and
Gotcha.
I used nothing of my degree.
Yeah.
But it was a good learning experience. I don't really recommend college in general.
Yeah.
But it was good in the sense that it allowed me to grow a little bit of character. It was the first time I actually stood out as a person.
Yeah, and they usually say that when you go to school for college and stuff like that, you rarely almost ever come out and actually use that degree.
Yeah.
I have someone here that said that they've been said the school system failed. Erupcell says it's Alvin. I don't know if that's for you.
I know.
So David Jones, do you want to read that one, Anwar?
Yeah, so David Jones is diving into the Red Pill stuff immediately. He says, topic for the panel: should the education system teach teenage girls that the truth that male monogamy is hard?
What's your take on that?
I don't think the school system should be putting in that, but I think that should be at the home. I think the home should be, and it's like, at the end of the day, they talk about male monogamy. Like, most men don't deserve to not be monogamous. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, when they say, "Oh, all men aren't monogamous," I'm like, why do you deserve not to be monogamous? You know what I mean? Like 33% of men, I think, like haven't been laid in the last 12 months.
It's
so
probably
like,
more than that.
Yeah, no, I think it's something like that. But it's like, like, you got to deserve that, right?
Yeah.
You like, why would some girls stick around with you? If they know that they're gonna be messing around. Like, maybe if you're high value enough and you provide enough value to their life to make their life better, then maybe you can convince that person that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, the school system shouldn't be telling you. Like, the school system be telling you men to be better, right? To provide value and then to be better in the marketplace. Because if not, like, you don't deserve that.
Yeah, the school system's failing us in a lot though. Like, a lot. When I left high school, I didn't know how to do my taxes.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about credit. I didn't know how to apply for a credit card. It's just a lot, man. Like, all the important things I actually needed in life, I didn't know how to work on a resume for a job. Think about that for a second, bro. They I couldn't even like create my own resume. I had to go and like go online and like get like an example of someone else's, and I was just like copy and pasting it. I like made it my own, and I'm like, yo, this is hard. I never learned this in school. So yeah, the school system is, in my opinion, is all messed up, man.
It's like you go for 8 hours in a day and you're not really learning.
I mean, you're learning trigonometry. When are you going to use that in life?
Yeah, it's useless. For personally me, I went from public school to online school at 15, and I finessed the system. I graduated with a 1.8, just like you, but I skipped all those grades and graduated at 16. I was like, I never did my classwork, never did my homework. I would just go in for the test, and somehow I knew what the answers were, got it, and then like graduated. I'm like, this system's broken. Like, I didn't learn anything.
Well, the crazy thing, like, the school system, they penalize you for being resourceful.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they penalize you, say you can't. That's cheating.
Yeah.
Because you talked to somebody else or you figured it out online.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? In the real world, you will need to talk to somebody else.
Agreed.
You will need to go online. You will need to figure out.
Agreed.
So like, the people that I hire, the most successful people are the ones that are the most resourceful. I don't care what you know on the top of your head.
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out, you're not going to be successful. So like, the whole scam behind Everett is nothing that they're actually teaching.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they're telling you that being resourceful is a bad thing.
Exactly.
That is what fires me up the most. It's crazy.
I like that you said that. So for me, like, anybody that I work with has to be resourceful, and they have to take initiative to like solve their own problems, because a lot of people find problems and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then also another point that you just said, I find it funny. They start kids from a young age, right? So like, you're going to school and 8 hours, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then you get out of school, you go to work for 8 hours. So like, they're actually basically training us to just continue working like this for the rest of our lives.
Institutionalized at a young age. But what we're talking about is basically the Spartan mindset. The Spartans at a young age, they weren't fed. They said you had to go steal it, right? And if you didn't steal it, then you would starve.
So that's actually something that I teach on, and the fact that the way the school system is failing us is because ever since human history, right, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we lived in small tribes of about 150 people, right? During those 150 people, what would occur for men at the age of 12, 13, 14 years old? You either went out into the world and actually had to provide value, or you went through an apprenticeship, right? You went through 10, 15, dark years of doing something shitty because you had no value. And at the end, you became valuable to the community, right? So at that 22, 23, 24, 25 age, you've already went through the grueling years of kind of becoming and building character and building a skill. So now you became valuable to the community. And during that time, right?
Yeah.
You felt valuable to yourself, right? You felt that you brought value to the marketplace because your marketplace was 150 people.
Yeah.
The issue now is with social media and society at whole, it's like you're comparing your value to now 8 billion people.
Agreed.
Where before all you had to do was, if you were a blacksmith that could, make some stuff for your 150 people, you felt valuable. You felt like you were providing something of great value and you felt fulfilled. That's why I tell people, like, you don't have to provide value to every single person. The greatest fulfillment that I have in my life is the fact that I can help 65-year-old plus individuals sign up for their health insurance. Is that sexy? No, but it's very fulfilling because I provide a lot of value and I'm one of the best, in my opinion, at doing it, right? My clients love me. They stick around with me. They know that I am the best at what provides value to them. And that is fulfilling to me. It doesn't matter that I'm not like, Leonardo DiCaprio or, have millions of followers on Instagram. It doesn't matter, right? Like, you just need to provide value to somebody. You don't have to be the best in the world at everything, right? You don't have to be, like you're comparing yourself to, Andrew Tate or all these guys that are like the best and the best at something, right? You don't have to be the best and the best. You just have to be the best and the best at something small to provide value to a small niche people. And then that will be fulfilling enough. And there's plenty of money in the world where you'll be successful if you do that.
Yeah, and it's funny you talked about the taste because someone in the chat actually said you look like Tristan Tate.
That's a compliment.
No, so
Tristan or boy.
Jason says, "What's up, guys? Can you read that Captain Caveman? I can't. It's too small for me to read."
Captain Caveman has a good point. He said, "If you're young and have grown up with YouTube, find yourself fortunate. There are those of us who are not fortunate enough to have YouTube growing up. It's a good resource tool. Use it."
True.
Yeah.
We got some other questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. Jason Williams says, what tips does he have for someone 19 to 20 years old?
I mean, I tell everybody, if you're, it depends on what your objective is. If your objective is like just to understand money and how people work, I think sales is the most important thing that you can ever get into. And if you can do some type of, either cold calling, door-to-door sales, it's just very character building. You're gaining a lot of skills. You will gain skills that you can bring anywhere, any marketplace. If somebody came to me at 22 years old and said, "Hey, for the last 2 years, I've been on the phone and I've called over 2,000 people in the last year. I didn't, make a ton of money, but I gained a lot of value from it. Can you provide something that might be a little bit more, sustainable in the future?" I'd say, come on in, right? Because I now trust that you'll do the work when the work is needed to be done, right? And most people just won't do the work.
Yeah.
That's all it is, right? If you can prove to me that you've built some character, that you'll do things when they're difficult to do, then you're in control of the discomfort. That's all I want. I want somebody that's in control of the discomfort. I don't want somebody that's chaotic. Like the number one thing I always tell people too, is younger guys like this, clean yourself up, clean your house up, clean your room up, right? Because if you are disorganized, messy, just unclean, unkept, right? Well, you have chaos.
Agreed.
The chaos is coming and you're not in control of it anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So that's the first thing. Easily clean up yourself, clean up your life, right? And then start doing some difficult stuff, right? Make some sales. Yeah, that's what I suggest.
Yeah, that was a great answer to that question. Any other ones, Anwar?
Yeah, Natty Base wants to know, is Matt making 7 figures?
Good question.
So it depends on how you look at it. The tax man doesn't think so. So
Come on,
I'm good.
Money,
life is good.
And David Jones has a question. Does Matt have a girlfriend?
I have no girlfriend. I was in 2 long-term relationships in my 20s and just recently got out of another long-term relationship. So you figure out in life, in my 20s, I actually think it was really beneficial to have the girlfriend that I knew. This is, getting too deep into it, but not, we'll go there. So in my 20s, I was with a girl since I was 20 to 30. I was with her for 10 years. And in that time, I knew that, like, you know, I never wanted to get married to her, you know, and it's like, it just wasn't going to be the right fit. But I also didn't want to be lonely. And I know that as a 20-year-old guy, if you're not getting any, you know, feminine attention, you will spend a lot of energy on that feminine attention. So I was selfishly keeping her around because I had my objective of just focusing on the work, but I still needed feminine.
Yeah, right.
So it's a smart investment for
right?
you.
Because at the end of the day, like I knew if I was going to be single in my 20s, I'd have spent way too much time just chasing pussy and trying to get girls and just not even focusing on what I wanted and needed to accomplish. So I'm so grateful that I was in that relationship and I love her to death, like just as a human.
Yeah.
She's remarried, great girl. It's just what, you know, it just wasn't meant to be. And then after that, I was in another relationship and same thing. I didn't feel the same connection to what my journey was. And, you know, as you get a little bit older, you gain a little bit clarity on what you want. And when things aren't aligned, sometimes it's okay to just change up direction.
It's funny that you say that because we don't go to the club for that same reason. We want to be successful. We don't have time for the ladies. But I always hear this from successful people. We were just watching a video from Muhammad Ali. He was saying someone asked the question, what's the best training for you? And he said, staying away from the ladies. Literally dodging them.
Yeah. He said the hardest part was being at home by 9 p.m. and being alone in that bed. Speaking more into that, I would say, so for any young people, we do have like young guys that watch the show. I find it funny that you said that, you know, staying away from the clubs and all that stuff is essential. Do you think the women that you were with were a big part in your success?
They were a big part of my success in the sense that I didn't chase other women, right? I wasn't red pilled. I didn't do all this other stuff. Like when people were like, oh, you know, so I was monogamous with my 10-year relationship until the end, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, I didn't even want to, because I was just like, I have this, but that's not my main goal anymore, because I have the feminine energy that I need in my life. But my goal is right now is to just build. Right. And there was a lot of pain, like the pain of not building and being successful and not being able to show, like, and, you know, there was things throughout the years of like, you know, I don't want to be a loser to her family, or, you know, thought of in this way. Like I have to provide, like I have to be the provider. Right. And that was more important. And it was, you know, like you have to kind of let your ego in play. And at some point, you know, the value exchange is no longer aligned. Right. And yeah, then you go your separate ways. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think if you chase women, it's like, I think Tristan, actually, this is one of Tristan's quotes, one of my favorite quotes. He goes, if you chase a butterfly, it will run away from you. But if you build a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come.
Jeez.
Right? So your job is to build a beautiful garden, because I'm just going to tell you now, my life is very good.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm no longer having to chase butterflies.
Right.
Right.
They're coming to you.
You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. You take care of yourself, you take care of your garden, and eventually they will come to you.
And for the women watching, I translate that over to you guys and say that, you know, that goes a lot into that manifesting stuff that y'all talking about, because, you know, a lot of people think that when you're chasing something, you know, you're actually like, you're forcing it to like kind of go away from you. And then if you sit back and work on yourself, we talk about this all the time with women. Since we started the podcast, you know, like it's been coming to us. We don't even go out. We don't go out, and we don't want to. You know, Miami, man, going out is expensive. So definitely staying focused, working on yourselves. And then what happens is women start to say, wow, something's different about this guy.
Exactly.
You know, this guy's working hard. He's focused. He's not out here.
Ambitious, right?
Yeah, ambition. And women love ambition.
They like a man with a future.
Yeah. And even if you don't have like anything right now, like I've had women that David Jones, and then
sounds back.
Cool. I think we have a question from Jason Williams. Sorry guys, we had the sound go out for a little bit. Jason Williams has a question, bro.
Yeah, Jason Williams says, I'm in college for marketing right now, and TBH, I feel like they're not teaching anything about making, I think he means money. What ways do you let's see, what ways should I go about teaching myself? Do you think marketing is a good option?
Man, I can answer. So marketing is crucial. It's a crucial part to the business, but the more important part is understanding what is the client's desire, right? What do they actually want, right? And then marketing is just letting them know about it, right? Letting them know that the solution for their problem exists. And that's your college degree right there. Like if you can understand that principle at large, like that's all you need to know. If you can have a solution to a certain pain point in somebody's life, and is that pain point valuable enough to the marketplace where you're going to actually make enough, significance in your own life where it's worth your time, then you can get very good at solving that problem better, quicker, faster than anybody else, and then let people know about it.
Agreed.
That's all marketing is.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's one from George here. He says, and this is actually a pretty good question. He says, how do you feel about schools trying to teach about marketing when the teachers aren't wealthy themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was something incongruent from from teaching and teachers many moons ago, and it's very difficult to say this because like it was just natural in me, and I like never really trusted people that I didn't see something in their life that I admired. If I don't admire something in you, it's very difficult for me to take advice from you. And one of my mentors once told me too is like the hardest part of your life was actually ignoring 99% of all the advice that you get. And that's very, very true. And I'll tell you just from experience of dealing with senior citizens for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes, well, actually, let me go back in time. So when I was 22, when I first started this, I'm like, oh, I'm super excited. I'm going to learn all the ways and the wisdom from all these seniors, and I'm going to learn the secrets of life, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, well, what I ended up finding out after meeting with all these people is like most people have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Even at 65, 70 years old, they still are living, lives that are either unhealthy, unwell, unfit, unhappy, right? And I'm like, oh geez, I'm like, is this the way that I want to live? And this is where I was getting one of my favorite quotes is from Abraham Lincoln, and he basically said, "There's never been a person that I have met in my life that I have not learned something from. However, most of the time, it was of what not to do." So if you can basically reverse engineer what you don't want, life will be much easier. Just avoid all the things that will guarantee your unsuccess. And that's actually, a big process of what's helped me is it's a lot easier to actually move away from pain. So like we all think about like success. What's success, right? I want success, but success is so subjective, right? It's so subjective to you. So if you're chasing something that's subjective, but you're trying to chase it because what your success looks like might be different than my success, but you don't even know what's guaranteeing your unsuccess, you will be unhappy. Right. So all you have to do is just know what are the 9, 10, 11 things that you guarantee will make your life miserable, and just avoid them. And then the world opens up.
We were listening to a video from Jordan Peterson. That's one of the things that he said. He was talking about ask yourself, what are some of the things that you're doing every single day that are absolutely causing you to fail? And by the way, speaking about what you just spoke on, older people are actually really hard to work with because they're so set on their ways. So the fact that you weren't only just going door to door, but you were dealing with like the older generation, I mean, like they're set in their ways,
like
man.
You got to break their like whole thought process down just to understand what they want.
And you have to break down a lot of barriers right off the bat and be kind of a chameleon in sense, right? Like not everybody's going to have the same pain points, right? So you have to understand quickly, like this person is very security driven, right? This person is very logic driven, right? And then understand that you're going to talk to that person a little bit differently, right? Not everybody's going to have the same objectives, right? And if you can understand after talking to somebody, and this is where just being a genuine human being will help you in life, right? Like just talking to people, listening to them, listening to what they're actually telling you, what's important to them. Is it their kids, or do they not care about legacy? Like if you're talking about legacy and this guy's like keeps telling you, he's like, I don't care, I'm not going to leave anything to anybody. You're talking about the wrong thing, right? That's not the same type of conversation you should be having. So you have to just kind of listen, right? And then they're going to give you the answers. They're going to tell you like, hey, I'm very freedom driven, or I'm very status driven, right? Like what is their main factor that's actually pulling and pushing them to their, values, right? And then you can talk to them about those things and say, how does this solution solve that problem specific to them, right?
Yeah, I agree. Do me a favor, can you read the David Jones question?
Which one?
Uh,
About the red flags?
Yeah.
So David Jones asked Matt, what red flags have you seen in sales marketing? I used to work for a marketing company and they had a lot of red flags with their sales campaigns.
Yeah, I think the most red flags that I see are just they're talking about fluff, right? There's too much fluff and they're not getting to the actual solution to the problem, right? Like it's just like you're just basically just throwing just stuff out into the world,
Yeah.
just like word garbage, you know, and like you're not actually talking about like the solution to a pain point in somebody's life, right? How are you making that pain point lesser, faster, you know, like how can you solve that problem quicker? Like that's all marketing is. And if you don't address that in the marketing, it's just like you're doing branding at that point. Right. And
Yeah.
branding is fine.
Right.
You know, branding is fine, but it's a longer game. And if you need to make money, branding is probably not going to pay the bills right away. Right. You got to let people know that there's a specific problem that you solve.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I personally do marketing, and what I see wrong with a lot of people when they do it is they'll try to sell instead of providing value first. If you provide value and connect to the actual person,
for sure.
And then, you know, you go back, and then I usually like to hop on a call with the person after that, provide a little more value. Then they come, oh, what can you do for me? And then you could sell to them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We have a question from sales. You want to read that one, bro?
Oh yeah, Rep Sales says, "What's the biggest thing you learned from being around Ty Lopez, and what was it like to be around him?"
That's funny. How they know that?
Yeah, I was about to
say. I think Rep Sales knows you. He said he was
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so Ty is a great marketer in the sense of he just knows how to understand people's emotions, you know. And not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's, you know, everybody has their own, you know, demons and flaws and things like that. So I never put anybody up on like a pedestal, but there's always something that you can learn from him. And he is a great marketer in the sense that he knows how to show people that they're capable of more. Right. And that is his best gift, right? Like he knows how to connect to people in a way that gives them confidence in themselves. And that is a very difficult thing to do, you know, and you do have to take a lot of flack from that too, because one of Ty's sayings, he actually told me once, he goes, you know, if you're trying to feed a kid broccoli, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you want that kid to eat the broccoli, at first you have to put a little cheese on it, right? You need to get them excited to eat the thing. So like we were talking about my car earlier, right? Like I want to help people. Like I genuinely want to help people because my life went from completely out of control, not having any money, to literally like a life that I want, right? I'm not like the richest and, you know, most powerful man on the planet, but like it's exactly how I want my life to be. And I'm in control of it completely. And I want people to have that. I want people to have that. I don't care how much money you make or whatever. I just want you to have control over your life. And that's why I bought the, obviously I like the car for myself, but like I have a nice Maserati. It's very, eye catching, it's a white, red interior convertible. Right. But if it doesn't entice somebody enough to get them emotionally attached to say, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he has maybe something that I desire at this point in my life, I'm not even going to listen to him.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to catch their attention. I got to put a little cheese on it first. Right. And then I can tell you that, hey, this is not that important at the end of the day, but you got to listen to me first.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And by the way, I didn't know about Ty Lopez, but yeah, I used to watch Ty a lot.
Godfather of marketing.
We got another question from Natty Base.
Go ahead.
Said, any tips on making true friendships in the business world? I don't want my best friend stealing $20K from me.
Yo, good question.
Yeah, people know me because so
they just say research.
Yeah. So quick little backstory. One of my best friends from like middle school, when I first started, getting a little successful in business and started buying rental properties, he kind of came running back and he's like, hey, I do construction now. Let me come, help you out with some of your properties. And, this is one of my best friends in middle school. Right. And, we kept in touch, but, had fallen off a little bit, but he was a friend. And eventually just, short story that he ended up helping me out a little bit, but then eventually I was going out of town and, we were starting a new business together, doing construction and buying, properties and renovating them. And I bought this new property and I was like, hey, when I get back, this, and this needs to get done because this property needs a lot of work. And I basically bought a truck for the business, and I gave him I think like 15 grand, and I came back and he was gone, the money was gone, and nothing was done at the property. And this was one of my best friends. So what was the question specifically about?
Just how
to avoid that?
Yeah, how to avoid that.
Yeah, how to avoid that is just like, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's tough, especially with the school system the way it is, because it doesn't really teach you how to spot a person of character, and I had to learn that the hard way. And I spent a lot of time dealing with psychology, learning about character, learning just about what is a person that I want in my life, and what characteristics do they show me that are aligned with who I am. And then if I would have known those things, I probably would just never brought this guy back into my life, because he was dirty. He didn't take care of himself. He was never really organized. He wasn't on time, right? A lot of like tells that now it wouldn't even cross my brain to be like, I'm not doing business with you. Like, this is like 28 red flags. You know what I mean? But at that point I was just like, hey, this is my friend from, I need to help him.
Yeah.
So
can I ask a question? Recently I've been trying to reorganize how my Instagram is set up into like streetwear to like kind of a business attire.
Okay.
And you were talking about your car. Has that made an effect on like maybe your cost per ads, like made it go down
on my ads?
Yeah.
So it's great. I don't actually do any advertising.
Oh, you don't do advertising?
No, I mean
10 million in sales. You don't do advertising?
So like what's
Jesus.
So this is what's interesting. So like the Instagram that I have is more just kind of for people that I know, and the mentoring and things like that all comes through kind of word of mouth and just connecting. So I don't do any advertising on anything like that. When it comes to my insurance, it's a different game, but I'm not marketing. It's so I'm not sending them a result of a good life, right? Like, they're already 65, 70 years old. Like, that's not what I'm selling them. So the marketing and advertising for my insurance business is actually much different than it is for obviously my mentoring and coaching and things like that. But I don't do any advertising or marketing for the actual mentoring or anything like that. So
gotcha. Cool. Any other questions before we get off, bro?
Ready for the comments. David Jones says, Basil is spot on. My previous company wanted a lot of sales, but the product was constantly changing and training was poor. Both sales reps and customers were hurt as a result.
Yeah. That's a good one. Let me ask you a question personally. How do you deal with hate?
Yeah. So
that's a good question.
That's a good question. Really good question. Actually, I think just you have to, it's kind of, this is one of the things that Ty taught me as well. In life, sometimes the only way to really get over something is just to put it in front of your face so often that it becomes normal, right? And it sucks. It's not fun. At the beginning, you are looked as somebody different, right? And you are, judged, right? And nobody wants to be judged. But then eventually you'll start growing, and you'll be surrounding yourself with the people that actually connect to you. And you'll be like, oh, wait, why do I care about the people that I don't even really like anymore? Or even really like, I never took their opinion seriously anyways. So why am I letting them dictate how I feel about myself? And that comes back to like the confidence in yourself. When you have the confidence in yourself because you keep the promises you make to yourself and to everybody else, you no longer really care about the people that are saying these things hurtful about you, because you know that you're truthful to yourself. The only time something actually really affects you is when it's probably a little bit true, right? You're like, if somebody says like, hey, you're fat, and you know that you like haven't been keeping up with your diet, or you haven't been going to the gym, and you're like, it kind of hits you because you're like, shit, I know I'm not doing what I know I tell myself I should be doing. But if you do everything you say you do, you're going to do, and you keep the promises to the people that you keep, you say you make promises to, like, nothing really affects you, so that's kind of the main thing is build the confidence in yourself and do the things that you say you're going to do.
Yeah. And I agree too with that, man. And I think that all people who are doing something successful, they're going to have hate. It comes with the territory. And personally, for me, I try to put myself in those shoes. I've gone through a lot. We all go through stuff, right? But I find that the people that are like the keyboard warriors that sit here and they message you or DM you, and they take time to do that, they're miserable, man. And usually people that have time to do that, they aren't doing nothing with their lives themselves. So they focus on the people they are, and they try to bring you down. And so it's unfortunate, but I love what you said. You got to put it in your face, and you got to get used to it. So Kudos for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else before we close out? We got to get ready for the night show.
Yeah.
Jason Williams says, I have a great quote for that. If a nobody can influence a somebody, then the nobody wins.
I apologize for everyone for me not talking. I just have Money Matt here, and I'm really just trying to gain. I'm trying to soak in all the wisdom he's saying.
Yeah, shout out to Matt, man. Thanks for coming through too.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, we're gonna put all his info in the description, and we'll get ready for the nighttime show. I think Matt's actually gonna be staying around for that one. So we'll catch you guys on the 10 p.m. show.
Peace.